Three different ways to start creating a guitar composition. So two are common ways, and one is less. I'm going to start with explaining a bit maybe. So there are many ways to start creating a guitar piece or music for that matter. And what I'm going to focus on is three elements, the three pillars of music, which are rhythm, harmony, and melody. So each and every one of them is a great way to start. Okay, so I see that guitarists sometimes get stuck with like a blank canvas. You have this guitar, which is like blank canvas, and now you want to create music, and what are you going to do with it? So the most common one, which I will start with, is chords. Okay, so harmony. The concept of harmony is basically when you hear two notes or more ringing at the same time, like that's harmony. And a chord is usually two or more notes playing at the same time. Like a power chord, for example, is only two notes, but when you add more, it becomes a chord. So people tend to have a framework, like the blank canvas is too scary, so they like to have something like background that they can fill with chord progressions. And I'm going to take the most basic common chord progression there is: G, C, G, A minor, and F. Now, there are parodies on YouTube and everywhere about these chords and how many songs you can play with it. So on one hand, it's very easy, right? You have the chord progression, it sounds great, and it's up to you now to add the other elements of music, like melody, for example, when you sing or play something on the guitar. But at the same time, you sticking yourself inside a box, and it's quite tricky to make it original and unique, although that's maybe a great creative challenge. How can you make this unique? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start and give myself this kind of challenge. And I encourage you to do that as well. How can you make the most obvious thing sound less obvious, or at least more unique? So I'm thinking, every chord you can play in different positions, right? For example, instead of C, you can play C here, C there. And that already gives you some kind of way out, right? This kind of knowledge, this is the cage system. I basically went through 5 shapes for the same chord. And then the next thing you can do is maybe take some notes out, right? Instead of just a whole chord, which is kind of boring, a few notes, which sounds more interesting. It's like, this is something called a spread triad. It sounds great. And that gives you something extra. It already gives you some kind of a melodic idea, especially if you play it melodically, meaning one note at a time, or a broken chord, or arpeggio. These are the more official and correct terms. So already this chord is more unique or different than... Okay, so what we can do is take the chord and then find G without moving too much, and I'm keeping this idea of maybe playing 3 notes. By the way, I'm thinking as I'm going along, and I'm improvising everything. Alright, yeah, there's something about it. And the next one is A minor. And I can do the A minor over here and play a few notes from there. But since I'm already holding a note like G, I thought about doing this shape. It's basically an A minor 7. So far we have C, G, A minor 7. Okay, now we need an F, right? And what I like about this approach is that we're trying to find the notes nearby. Yes, you can go up and down, but this is something called voice leading, which is another concept that to summarize it in the most simplest way, if you don't have to move, don't move. If you have to, move as little as possible. So if I'm here and I think I need an F, I've got an F here. So actually I can do this. So this is an F. I've got an F. I've got an A, which is in chord F major. You have an F and A. I don't have C, but since my finger is already on E, I'll take that. So C, G, and then A minor, and then F. I mean, you can definitely hear the chord progression behind it. So how can we make it more original? Well, adding a melody. Now you can add a melody with your voice, but I'm going to try to do it on the guitar by simply trying to find notes around it. Like if I have this chord C, I have this note, I can play a melody around it or change it while playing. Very difficult to make it still original because I can hear all these songs in my head while playing it. But at least they give you some kind of way out. But again, that's the problem with starting with a chord progression. It sounds good, but it sounds like something else. It sounds good because you heard it before. So that's the kind of catch 22 in this case. So let's move on to the second way. Okay, first way, chords, harmony, chord progressions. Second way, rhythm. Okay, so rhythm is not the left hand, the fretting hand is the picking hand. So what you want to do is start with the picking pattern. You can do strumming, but again, that's kind of limiting because then you're focusing on chords. It's not that exciting and interesting. So you want to find a picking pattern. So by muting the strings, just I don't know, this came up. I'm playing this kind of sequence, 6, 3, 4, and then 2 and 3. Now, obviously, this limits you in terms of, okay, I need to play those strings. But then, at least you can choose chords that are outside the common ones, right? So there's something going on. The rhythm, the idea of the rhythm is that it already gives you that kind of engine that rolls and pushes you and moves you forward, right? So that's the engine, and you don't have to think about what the right hand is doing unless you're adding more complicated stuff. Just kind of having fun. So that rhythm is the driving force, and I'm moving along. I'm going to try to, well, now I can come up with a chord progression. Sounds okay, and then maybe. So I like it. So again, this came from the rhythm, and then everything is open, everything is free. I like it. Okay, so again, this came from rhythm. And the third way, okay, so this is roughly common. I can see many guitarists start the composition that way. And the third way is the most uncommon, the most rare one of all, where you start with the melody. So the cool thing about the melody is that everything is open. Literally everything, the chord, the rhythm, the harmony and the rhythm. And you just need to find something small, like this kind of phrase. Okay, that's it. Now, that melody already has a rhythm, But if you want to add all the other elements, we have to think about the rhythm and the chords later. And this is exactly what you can do now, step by step. So what we want to do first, usually this is what I do, what I recommend my students as well, is to harmonize the melody. First of all, play it enough times so you memorize it before making any variations, the same thing. I can already hear some variations, but I'm gonna keep it like that. Now I want to harmonize it. For this, you probably need to know some kind of fretboard knowledge, theory, although you can go with just randomly place your fingers. I did a video on creating music with no theory. It's definitely possible. But I know that...
Sorry, I don't understand.
I didn't talk to Siri. So... something like that. I'm thinking, okay, this, I'm playing the D chord like this, and I'm hearing a note here that needs another chord, a few variations. Okay, so this is the beauty of this technique. You're not limited. You can harmonize it in so many ways. Even change the chords while the melody is ringing. So this is traditionally called a chord melody. It's a chord and melody. And traditionally a chord melody is following the melody. The melody is the lead part, so it makes sense, although you can change the melody. And that's another cool thing. You can create this, the melody, play the chords, and then over the same chords, change the melody. Okay, but that's probably for the next step. So this is one way of harmonizing. Every chord will give it a different color. Trying to experiment with more interesting. So it's endless and it's fun. This is the point where you can get confused by too many options, which is good and bad depending on how you're looking at it. But it definitely doesn't keep you inside the box, like starting with a chord progression and starting with rhythm. So the next step is to add rhythm. So we have... oh, this is really cool. I like it. How can we add rhythm? So we have the melody, we have the chords, and the rhythm would be... I'm going to use the same rhythm I was kind of playing with. So this is how you kind of combine the two, right? So one thing is already kind of finished, the chord and the melody, and we need to kind of envelope it, cover it with that rhythm. And this is kind of a learning curve. Every time I create something new, I teach myself something new. So I never played this before, this combination of notes and this combination of rhythm pattern. So this is the cool thing about creating music in this way or any other way, because you're teaching yourself and progressing with your skills at the same time. It's endless. So once you have like this seed of idea, the melody, the chords and the rhythm, you can just flow. And now the rhythm takes over, right? Once you add the rhythm, that driving force will give you that energy to explore anything else, which will sound great no matter what you're going to do, because in music there's always the idea of something that is the same and something that is different. So if you keep the rhythm the same, it actually doesn't matter what you're going to play. But if you're starting with a melody, it already has more substance than just starting with rhythm, and that's why I like this specific way. So I covered 3 different ways today. First one, chord progression, which is tricky, possible, but easy. Second is rhythm, which helps with finding one hand and the other hand has complete freedom on the fretboard, or less complete freedom because you're choosing the strings. And the third way is the most free one. Everything is open. I hope you enjoyed it, and I usually do these sessions every Thursday. It's at 2 p.m. London time, and you're welcome to join me for the next one. I usually talk about these kind of things, guitar composition. That's the name of the channel. This is my passion. This is what interests me, and that's what I teach. And if you want to know more, I have a few programs, and actually today I'm starting a new program of 4 weeks, which is just about emotional chords. I've done another short video about emotional chords that people liked, and I've decided that because people like it, I'll create a 4-week program with live sessions starting from today. And there's a link if you want to join and learn a little bit more about it. You can ask me, you can email me if you want to know more. And it's going to be about emotions today. Today's going to be about calming chords. Playing that chord makes me feel relaxed. And every week will be a different emotion. So thanks for watching. Comment if you have any questions or comments. If you're watching it live now or later. Take care. Create great music.